Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Dylan Knows. It is 11:35 p.m. on Saturday, August 6th. Right now, down at Oriole Stadium, they're celebrating the 30th anniversary of Camden Yards and also have a 90s concert with Cisco, Drew Hill, and the guys who sang All Star. I forgot who their name is, but they're there too. So it'll come to me eventually. Anyway, Orioles are one of the hottest teams in baseball right now. We had some trade deadline stuff. We'll talk a little bit about that. Just finished watching. Got caught up on Stranger Things. I'll talk to you about that and give my opinion on the last 4 seasons of Stranger Things. Sandman week was this week, or Sandman Friday, I should say. I watched the first 3 episodes of that. Let me tell you what I thought about that. We had some major deaths this week. 2 or 3 big ones at least. So we'll talk about those. A lot of anniversaries again, which tends to be my new thing now, just to expand this a little bit more and make it a little more interesting, I guess. A lot of Halloween stuff since we're talking closer. August 6th, we're getting closer and closer. It is officially Midsummer. Midsummer actually officially came on the 5th yesterday, but we are now currently on the downslope of summer right now, which means autumn is one day closer. And now summer is one day further away from us. So we got that going on. Quentin Tarantino has some stuff to say. Civil War, Bigfoot, HBO, Max, Warner Brothers, and Discovery Plus had a lot of stuff happen this week, and none of it's good. None of it's really good. New trailers, new TV shows, shoes, glazed Twinkies. Stray continues to be making a name for itself. Animals, cancellations, fun stuff like that. So hopefully I'll be able to read casting news. Hopefully I'll be able to read all my stuff here. So first things first, yesterday, August 5th was Midsummer. So there are 92 days of summer if you count June 21st to September 21st. Because people tend to forget that after Labor Day, it's still technically summer until mid-September. Now, obviously, you have meteorological autumn, which starts September 1st, same as meteorological summer starts June 1st, meteorological winter starts December 1st, and meteorological spring starts March 1st. It's the first day of the month where the official season begins. So, but if you want to look at it in reality, there are 92 days in summer. June 21st to September 21st. We are now August 6th. Yesterday, August 5th, was day 46 of summer. So 46 plus 46 is 92, hence Midsummer. Now, Midsummer is very big in the Wiccan community. I believe it is a Wiccan holiday. I don't know the name of it off the top of my head right now. I did at one time, but I can't remember. It's not Beltane. That's spring, I think. But it's something like that. Also, where was I going with that? Shakespeare wrote a play called Midsummer's Night Dream, which is kind of where the name of this episode, Midsummer Nights Dylan Knows, comes from. Also, Sandman, the show we're going to talk about here in a few minutes, the comic did an episode or an issue about Midsummer's Night Dream. So I would assume if the show gets a second season, that would fit in the second season window. So we'll see if that happens as well. So pretty good about that. So there's going on that. Big news today, personally. My daughter, who will be turning 16 in December, got behind the wheel of a car for the first time ever and drove it a little bit. With my teaching, we went to a parking lot and where nobody was around. And part of the basics, and she did really good. She did really good. Obviously, first time in the car, you're going to have issues, but nothing really majorly, no problematic, nothing broken, nothing hit. Everything was good, and she seemed to enjoy it, so we're good on that. My family will be leaving me on Monday, and we'll be going Monday through Thursday. They'll be going down to see my wife's aunt. I will not be joining them because my boss at work is going on vacation, and I have been requested to help out since I used to be a manager. We're not going to get into that whole big kerfuffle, but I do know how to do some certain things. So the assistant manager wanted me to help out some. So I will be doing managerial stuff next week at my job instead of my usual job. Not going to say anything more about that. So we have that. So they're going to be away Monday through Thursday. They'll be back on Thursday in time to go to the Scouts swimming party that they always have every year. And then the weekend hits, and I'm probably going to take my daughter out driving again next weekend. And then the weekend after that, they're going camping. So I'll be I won't be by myself because my son's not going camping with them. So I'll have my son, but it'll just be me and him next weekend, not this upcoming weekend, but the next weekend. 2 Saturdays from now will be that way. So kind of interesting about that. And at work, we had an interesting thing happen on Thursday. We have a big giant bay door, and I was in the back when it happened, and I've gotten some conflicting reports, but I know it has something to do with we have these cardboard bins which you put cardboard in, and when someone was bringing one in, someone pressed the door to close, and he might not have pulled it all the way in before he hit close, and it hit the cardboard thing, and it popped itself off the track. So the door was kind of hanging by a string. Luckily, no one got hurt. The door people came and they said we need a new track, and they were able to close it so animals and people can't get in. But we can't open it and use it, or else it's going to fail again. Hopefully, they will come next week and replace the track and get it either a new door or just replace the door that we have now. So we'll see what happens. So that was interesting. So we had that all come up this week. So that's what's going on this week, kind of in a personal view of things. I said also we finished Stranger Things this week. When Stranger Things first came out, I didn't really know much about it, much like everybody else, but word of mouth eventually got to my wife and I. And since we were, kids during the 1980s, it seemed to be like the perfect thing. And it was Winona Ryder back in the spotlight after being gone for a while, and turned out to be a really, really good show. And it became Netflix's probably, I think, under Squid Game, because I think Squid Game is still the most watched show on Netflix, but Stranger Things is a very close second. It is one of the more popular shows on Netflix. And then the seasons tend to come at a brisk pace, every other year. It's like, okay, one here, a year off, another one, a year off, another one. And then we got hit with COVID, everything as well. So it took about 3 years before this new 4th season came out. And because the 4th season was so huge, they divided into 2 parts, with the first 7 episodes dropping on May 27th of this year, and then 8 and 9 dropping on July 4th this year. And so that finished up. And so season 5, which is going to be the final one of Stranger Things, will be due out in 2024. The writer's room pre-production on Stranger Things season 5 has officially begun. The Duffer Brothers, who are the creator of it, they shared a picture of a whiteboard that says Stranger Things season 5. We're going to put all the ideas and stuff, and in reflection of it, you can see all the writing staff and directing staff. So it's going to be interesting to see how they tie up everything. So let me give you a quick little rundown of my my thoughts about Stranger Things here. So we watched the first season in its entirety, and then I watched like the first 2 or 3 episodes of season 2, and then something happened, and I just never got back into it. And then my wife and daughter watched an additional like 3 or 4 after that, and then they stopped, and so we hadn't finished season 2 yet, and so we were way behind. So my daughter, who really wanted to, get caught up because she'd heard all the good things about the seasons, and I've been seeing a lot of the memes and stuff like that. I wanted to kind of get back to it because I kind of missed it. And I was thinking about, I had read the episode descriptions on Wikipedia, so I knew kind of what was happening to keep up. But it's much it's much more fun to actually see the stuff because Wikipedia just does the basics. They don't go verbatim what happened. So it was good to see a lot of stuff still surprised me, but I also knew a lot of stuff that was coming and stuff like that. But so we decided let's just start from the beginning of season 2 because we all remembered season 1 because my daughter had seen the whole thing also with us. So we just started over with season 2, and that was a couple weeks ago. It was like 3 or 4 weeks ago, and we just blew right through all 3 seasons. And tonight was the final episode of season 4, which is 2 hours and 22 minutes long. That's why we had to wait for the last time to see it because it was so long. So and it was good, and I appreciate that. So right now I'm just going to give you my my general thoughts on the 4 seasons of Stranger Things real quick. Season 1, of course, was the premiere one, the season that introduced the characters, the situation. There's another alternate dimension called the Upside Down that has all kinds of creepy creatures in it that tend to have some sort of connection to D&D. And the kids play D&D, and it takes place in the early 80s, early to mid 80s. It's got this synth score in it, which makes it very 80s feel as well. The characters are like straight out of 1980s films and Stephen King film or books and D&D stuff. And it tells the tale of a young boy named Will Byers who, on his way home from a D&D session, disappears. And the whole town of Hawkins, which is a small town, Indiana, where nothing ever really bad had ever happened before, goes looking for him. As you do. The parents, they form groups. The police get involved to try to find what's going on. And then Will's best friends decide they want to help out too because it's their best friend, even though they're not supposed to. And they stumble upon a mysterious girl about their age in the woods with a shaved head and can't really talk very well. So they take her home to one of the character Mike's house and try to get information out from her and discover she has some sort of weird superpowers where she can move things with her mind and do stuff. So this is something new and unusual, and they soon discover that she's connected to what happened to their friend Will when we discover that there is this other alternate dimension called the Upside Down that this girl now called 11 has been tasked by the science building out there in the outskirts of Hawkins, has top secret science lab has been used to try to explore this dimension by using her psychokinetic abilities and stuff like that. And she escaped because it was a torturous, horrible place to be. But a creature has been released called the Demogorgon, which is a bipedal creature whose face opens up and has lots of fangs and it eats you and stuff like that. So they discover that Will is trapped in the Upside Down and can communicate by light. So he goes to communicate to his frazzled single mother and his older brother, Jonathan. And that's like the main story. And then you get introduced to other characters. You have Nancy, who is Mike's older sister, who has started dating Steve Harrington, who was the most popular guy in school, and it's changing her a little bit. And her friend Barb sees that she's changing a little bit, wanting to be a popular kid, stuff like that. And on the night that Nance loses her virginity to Steve, Barb gets kidnapped also by the Demogorgon, disappears. The town, not knowing about the Demogorgon, believes that another person has been kidnapped, that there's some sort of serial kidnapper out there, and they've got to stop them. And so everything comes to a head eventually, and the season ends with 11 destroying the Demogorgon and closing the portal to the Upside Down and disappearing. Seasons 2 starts about almost a year later. The kids are a little bit older. It's set around Halloween. The first season is set in like mid-November-ish, so just after Halloween and before Thanksgiving. Season 2 takes place around Halloween. And so the boys are in their last year of middle school, and they are growing up and changing a little bit. Mike is still pining for 11, who he really, really likes, and the other kids are just trying to, move on with their lives. Now, Will has been returned and got returned, but he is still connected to the Upside Down. He starts having visions around Halloween of a creature they call the Mind Flayer, this big, gigantic creature in the sky. And we discover soon that the Mind Flayer has actually escaped out of the portal and is starting to possess Will. And so the kids still think 11 is still missing, but they got to figure out a way of how they're going to stop this Mind Flayer. So they go to the science lab again. The mean, cruel doctor who is there is no longer there. And there's a new, younger doctor played by, well, not younger, but a better doctor named Dr. Owens, played by Paul Reiser, who wants to help and try to figure out how to save Will. And also there are other portals still open to the Upside Down, not just the one that 11 closed. So they're burning everything up to try to destroy it and close it down, while also kind of studying it at the same time. So anyway, so Will's possessed by the Mind Flayer, and Joyce, Winona Ryder's character, the single mom, is dating a guy named Bob, who's played by Sean Astin. And then we discover that 11 is still alive and is being looked after by the chief of police, Hopper, played by David Harbour, who is having trouble, connecting with her, trying to, keep her safe, but also having to keep doing his job and not telling anybody that she's still alive, because he's afraid that if it's revealed she's still alive, that the government or whatever is going to want her back and maybe kill her or test her, and he doesn't want that to happen. He has his own trauma from the past when his daughter died of cancer. He's trying, and his wife left him, so he's just trying to do good, but things just keep going wrong, and 11 finally has enough and leaves the house and tries to find Mike. Meanwhile, a new character by the name of Max, short for Maxine, has entered from California. She's played by Sadie Sink, and she is a typical tough, sarcastic, red-haired girl that Lucas and Dustin immediately become smitten with, and they try to win her affection. Will, meanwhile, is still trying to, he's suffering from PTSD and also is now possessed by this Mind Flayer. So he's acting all kinds of weird. And Mike is pining for 11. But Max wants in on this group because her life is terrible. She has an abusive older stepbrother named Billy. And Billy, meanwhile, is making life horrible for Steve Harrington. Steve, who was the most popular kid in school and was the one that took Nancy's virginity, but was treated like came out as an asshole in the first season, but learned how to be a good guy starting at the end of the first season and into the second season. He continues that trend, but Nancy is still all kinds of upset about Barb's death being covered over, and the family doesn't know what happened to her, even though Nance knows what happened and can't tell anybody. So her and Jonathan, Will's older brother, who have been sparking left and right, even though Nance is dating Steve, they decide that they're going to try to reveal the truth and damned what happens, because they need to let Barb's family have some closure. So they go to find a guy named Murray, who is a top conspiracy theorist sort of nut job, who can help them maybe get the word out about what's going on in Hawkins. So Max is able to sort of, get herself into the gang, even though Mike does not want her around. And when 11 comes to see Mike in secret, Mike does not see her, but she sees Mike and Max. Max is sort of flirting with him and punching him, and they're playing around. And 11, not knowing what's going on and not knowing things, thinks that Mike doesn't like her anymore. And so she leaves and discovers that she actually has, someone else from the science lab has escaped. And she discovers that by visiting her comatose mother. And so she goes to find her sister, who is in the lab with her in Chicago. And she does. her name is 8, and her power is she can make you see things that aren't there. And she takes 11 under her wing, and they are plotting. She's ahead of a group of misfits who are going around and attacking members of the science lab who've escaped. And now that 11's there, they want 11 to get revenge on them as well. But 11 just can't pull the trigger and ends up going back to help her friends in Hawkins when she starts discovering that the Mind Flayer has taken over Will's body and is planning on entering into the world permanently and changing it. So again, Steve ends up, Steve and Nancy end up breaking up because Nance is really, really upset and gets drunk and says that their whole relationship is bullshit. But Steve, who was the most popular kid in school, has now fallen in love with her, and he wants to try to get her back. But instead, Dustin gets him and explains to him what's going on because Steve was involved with the Demogorgon at the end of the first season, so he knows what's going on. So Dustin wants his help to help him, try to do something. And the rest is sort of history. And eventually, they discover a way to free Will from the Mind Flayer. And Mike is reunited with 11 and all misunderstanding, stuff like that. And they come back together as a couple. Max picks Lucas over Dustin. But Dustin has his buddy Steve. And so they go to the Christmas dance, or the winter dance, I should say. It's since it takes place, a few weeks after stuff like that. So it's closer to Christmas, and we see that the Mind Flayer is actually still around, but he's in the Upside Down now and not out in the real world. Or is it reversed? I can't remember. Anyway, fast forward to season 3, and then I'll give you my actual thoughts of these in a second. Season 3, which is set July 4th, so 9 months or whatever. So later, July 4th, Mike and 11 are dating. 11 is still with Hopper at the house, and Hopper is starting to have issues with Mike being around all the time because he wants to protect his young daughter from a male, stuff like that. Max and Lucas fight, break up, get back together, so on and so forth. Dustin has been at camp all summer and has met a girl named Susie who lives in Utah, and he has built a radio tower that he can try to keep in contact with her. And Will is still able to sense something is going on because he feels something in the back of his neck. Rats start mysteriously acting weird and bursting into goop. And Billy, who was brought down a peg in the second season, is now no longer really bothering Max as much. Now he's set his sights on taking on married women, and eventually he gets sucked into a warehouse where the Mind Flayer is creating an army and possesses Billy, and Billy brings more people to get possessed as well because they figure the Mind Flayer says, I fought 11 one-on-one and lost, but if I had an army that was just me in all these people in this army, maybe I'll do a better job of winning the war. So Billy abducts people, and the Mind Flayer infects them, and they go and they grab other people, and so on and so forth. So before you know it, they have a big army. Meanwhile, Steve has gotten a job working at an ice cream shop in the new mall, which has just been built basically almost overnight, which is closing down a lot of the mom and pop businesses on their main street because everybody's flocking to the mall because it's the first mall Hawkins has ever had. And we start seeing some of the mall culture of 1985. So everybody is flocking to the mall and stuff like that. And so Steve has gotten a job because he's graduated from high school. He's gotten a job working at a ice cream shop where he works with a girl named Robin, who is about, I think, a year younger than him. So she's still a senior in high school. And they've interacted a little bit, but not too much. Robin's played by Maya Hawke, who is the daughter of Ethan Hawke and Uma Thurman. Murray is still around. He can speak Russian, and Joyce has discovered that um, something weird is happening at her house because her magnets are demagnetized. They're not sticking to anything. And she discovers that somewhere there's some sort of power source that's creating something. They don't know what it is, but it's causing these demagnetization stuff. And Dustin, when he's trying to contact his girlfriend Susie using this giant radio tower, he intercepts a message that's in Russian. And remember, 85 was the height of the Cold War, and people believing that the communists have invaded the United States. And in this case, they actually have. They are in the basement of, or they are built, they're underneath the mall. Yeah, Shocker is live. They are underneath the mall. And are making their own way. They're opening their own portal to the Upside Down because 11 closed at the end of season 2. So now they're opening a new one. And so Dustin shares the recording of the Russian radio signal with Steve and Robin is able to decipher it and figure out that it's some sort of code. So Steve, Robin, and Dustin, along with Lucas's sister Erica, younger sister Erica, decide to go trying to find the communists and discover that they are underneath the mall. Meanwhile, Elle and Mike, Mike was threatened by Hopper to stop dating 11, so he sort of starts acting weird and cool around her, and 11 believes that he's breaking up with her. So 11 goes to see Max, who's the only other girl that she knows, and tries to get her to explain what's going on with Michael, because she and Lucas always seem to be off again, on again. And so Max and 11 become best friends. They have sleepovers, and 11, Max absolutely gets 11 to unwind and open up a little bit. And Max's whole thing is, you don't need to be reliant on a boy. I know you don't know much about it, that your whole life you've had, the scientists messing with you, and now Mike, doing everything for you, stuff like that. You need to be your own woman, get your own style. And Hopper is trying to control your life also. So you need to be yourself. So her and Max and 11 go out to the mall and have a girls' night out and enjoy themselves. And 11 catches Mike in a lie and breaks up with him. And Max is broken up with Lucas. And so they go and they have sleepovers and have fun like that, and pull pranks and do stuff like that. Meanwhile, Lucas and Mike are trying to figure out how to get their girlfriends back. Will, who is now back to normal, but he has not really, I guess you could say, hit puberty yet or whatever. He's not interested in girls. He's just interested in continuing playing D&D and doing the stuff like that. He gets a little pushed aside a little bit by Mike and all them. So so that's what's going on with that right now. So it all comes sort of to a head, and then Joyce, I think, eventually gets to Murray, and they get involved with they discover a Russian guy, and they try to get him to explain what's going on. So it's just sort of kind of thrown together. Meanwhile, we discover that the Mind Flayer is, when he gets enough people, bursts their bodies and turns them into like this jelly sort of thing, and becomes sort of like on Earth this big mass of goo stuff, and is going to go after 11 because they think 11 hurt them, so they want to take out 11. So there's a big battle at the mall on the 4th of July, and 11 uses all her powers to stop it. And meanwhile, Steve, Robin, Erica, and Dustin are being pursued by the Russians in the basement as they're trying to shut down the laser that's trying to open up the passageway to the Upside Down. And just throw it all together. Hopper apparently dies destroying the machine. 11 uses all her power to destroy the Mind Flayer, and Billy dies protecting the kids, and that's sort of where we end. And then we discover that Hopper has been held is being held captive in a Russian prison. So then we fast forward to season 4, where Joyce has moved Will, Jonathan, and 11 out to California to keep 11 safe. So, the heat doesn't come down on Hawkins. So they don't know where, so that the heat doesn't know where she is. So they move out to California, leaving everybody else back in Hawkins. And it takes place in spring of '86, where it's spring break. And Mike is going to see her in California, see 11 in California. And we learn that they're in high school now, and they've joined a D&D club run by Eddie Munson, who is a local kind of drug dealer, metalhead, trailer park guy, but he's actually a really cool, nice guy. When students start to show up dead with their eyes gone and their bones all mangled. And eventually Max, who is still kind of recovering from the fact that she watched Billy die, is being haunted by visions of a clock doing sort of a distorted tone and seeing visions of things. And so she's sort of, fallen back into herself. She's separated herself from all of her friends and is sort of trying to be a solo thing. Mike has joined a high school basketball team because he wants to be cool and popular after being stuck in as being a member of the geek squad. He figures high school will be a good way to renew himself. So he, joins the basketball team and is pretty good at, ends up actually clinching a championship with a last minute basket that none of his friends went to see because they were too busy finishing up their campaign. But one of the first students who gets killed is this girl named Chrissy, who is a head cheerleader and is the girlfriend of the quarterback, Jason, who's kind of an asshole. And her body is found at Eddie Munson's trailer. So he automatically believes that Eddie Munson's D&D stuff, which is they believe is Satan worshiping and stuff like that, is using her as a cult sort of murder thing. So the whole town turns against Eddie and the D&D club. And so now the boys have to figure out what's going on. And so everybody eventually discovers there's a new being named Vecna, who is like the big bad in the Upside Down, who's been killing these people. And meanwhile, 11 is having trouble getting herself adjusted to California. And she is being bullied and she doesn't have her powers anymore. And she lost her father figure. So it's barely seeing Mike. So she's having a rough time, but eventually the government grabs her again to say they can get her powers back. Meanwhile, there's another faction of the government that wants to take her out because they believe she's the one that's doing all this killing in Hawkins. So we've got that going on as well. So we have all these little storylines going on, and they all converge on this thing where the group has to stop this Vecna character from unleashing hell in Hawkins. So I've been talking way too long about that. That's not really what I want to do. What I liked about the first season was introduction of the mystery and the characters and just the idea of the return of Winona Ryder to the forefront because she'd been missing for so long. Just sort of that 80s vibe sort of thing. Season 2 was introduction of Max, who for that season, she was not one of my favorites right away, but she started to grow on me a little bit. It takes place around Halloween, which is a great setting for it. We see Bob, played by Sean Astin, who's great. We see Steve becoming more of a member of the group by becoming sort of the babysitter and him showing his, growing up and maturing a little bit. And, Will is more in the show now. At the first season, he was the one hiding in the Upside Down. Now he's sort of the one who's been possessed. And Murray makes his first appearance, which is a really interesting character as well. Season 3 was the Max and 11 relationship. I thought was really cool. And the Robin and Steve dynamic as well was outstanding too. And then season 4, the group are veterans now, so they know what to do, and they're not going in blind. They have one weakness now. They still believe 11 doesn't have her powers, so they have to figure out how to solve the problem without 11. But they're veterans, and nothing surprises them, and they know what they're doing. And has a really good bad guy, and Eddie was a great great character introduction. And Max's role increasing exponentially as well. So that's my take on it. I just wanted to cover that a little bit there. I talked a little bit too much about, so I need to start moving because I want to get a move on here. Sandman is on Netflix. It's 10 episodes of season 1 of Sandman. Neil Gaiman, who wrote Sandman, is one of like the showrunners and producers, so his hands are all over it. And this is one of the most truthful adaptations of anything, really. The first season adapts the first 2 story arcs of the Sandman comic. The first one, and then the Doll's House. And it's very comic accurate. They did a really good job of casting them. With the casting, they mixed it up a little bit by changing sexes and colors of skin and stuff like that. But in the end, it really doesn't matter. You get the best actors for the job. And again, Neil Gaiman's hands are all over it, so he's wants to make sure that it's done properly. I said, just all 10 episodes are available now on Netflix. We've only watched the first 3. My wife and daughter actually enjoy it as well, so I was surprised about that. And we get the main story about it, where Dream gets held captive for 100 years, and then when he returns to his realm, it has been destroyed and in disrepair, and his powerful items have been taken, so he has to get his powerful items back to restore his kingdom back. Plus, also with his disappearance, he hasn't been able to control the bad and good dreams. So some people have been gotten sick with a sleeping illness where they're not waking up because they're not dreaming, and then there's ones who can't sleep because their dreams are actually terrible. The bad dreams have started walking around on the earth in real life, including the main villain of this piece called the Corinthian, the guy wearing sunglasses, who portrays a serial killer who takes people's eyes. And Sandman knows that he's out in the world and he needs to get his stuff back, rebuild his kingdom, and then go after the Corinthian and bring him back to the land of the nightmares. But he's got to find all of his stuff again. So the first thing he went after is his pouch of sand, magic sand. Turns out that Joanna Constantine, it was John Constantine in the comics, but because there have been a different bunch of iterations of John Constantine, they decided to give him a female makeover. And actually, there is a character called Joanna Constantine in the comics as well. It's played by Jenna Coleman, who was one of the Doctor Who's is actually Doctor Who's longest running companion of the new series. She came to the tail end of Matt Smith's run and was at the beginning half of Peter Capaldi's. But she is the one companion who's been there more than any of them. She is outstanding as Joanna Constantine, and I wouldn't mind seeing a Joanna Constantine spinoff series. In fact, Gaiman said that he would love to do one as well, so we'll see if that actually happens. And then we know the 4th episode, which we haven't watched yet, is going to take him to hell, where he's going to run to Lucifer. And then the 5th episode is going to be the controversial 24 Hours episode. And then that should end the first story arc. And then we get into Doll's House, which will finish up the season. Well, actually, I think there's a break where we meet Death, and Dream and Death go on a trip. And then it's Doll's House's story. The show, it seems to be very self-contained. Yes, the shows connect, but the stories, the episodes have like a beginning, middle, and end. So you feel like, you've watched something substantial, but it opens up enough stuff that, okay, I want to see what else is going to happen. But they feel like, one-shot episodes and looks good. So from what I heard, it's continuing to be good. Netflix is really, really behind it. As I said, they got Neil Gaiman all over it. They are so sure of themselves that the second season has not been announced yet, but the producers have started writing the scripts for season 2 of Sandman already. Again, not that there is going to be a season 2 of Sandman, but the things tend to be tracking the ratings, stuff like that seem to be tracking that it probably will be indeed something that will be coming out really soon. And announced really soon, because it's doing really well. Review wise, it's doing very well, and it's all over the place. So hopefully it will do good, because it is very well done and it is very well accurate to the comics. Of course, they're gonna make some changes here and there, but that's okay because that's what you have to do. Moving right along. Jennifer Coolidge, who played Stifler's mom in the American Pie movies, says that she slept with 200 plus people since playing Stifler's mom because she was the initial MILF. That first time that I really ever heard of the term MILF. And so Jennifer Coolidge has been able to parlay that into actual sexual relations. So good on her. John Leguizamo is blasting the casting of James Franco as Castro. And to be honest, I can't blame him. James Franco is not Spanish or Cuban or anything like that. He's a white American. Whereas John Leguizamo, he's not saying that he should play Castro, but he says you couldn't find a Cuban actor or a Spanish actor who could portray Castro. So we'll see what happens with that. Scientists admit that this isn't the James Webb one. This is a completely different. This is one of the Earth telescope things. Scientists admit that the space telescope, that a certain space telescope picture that they posted saying it is of a supernova or something like that was actually a slice of chorizo, which is like a pepperoni sort of ham sort of thing. So that was kind of a interesting little sort of story that came out this week. Civil War Bigfoot sightings. There's a story out now that there have been a number of sightings of Bigfoot during the Civil War by troops on both the north and south sides in different locations of the war, just around areas where massive warfare was about to begin. So that's kind of an interesting sort of maybe continuous proof that maybe there is more to Bigfoot sightings than expected. Inflatables are a big thing now, particularly with Halloween coming through here soon. Inflatables seem to be the new big Halloween decoration. Well, this year you got some new ones. One is a 15-foot tall Stay Puft Marshmallow Man from Ghostbusters inflatable, and one is much smaller, but still just as kind of cute, scary sort of thing, a Stitch inflatable from the Disney movie Lilo and Stitch. So that's kind of neat to see those. So if you're a fan of Stitch, go ahead and get yourself one of those inflatables. If you like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, you can now get a 15-foot tall Marshmallow Man inflatable. Another big thing, so Sandman is doing pretty good over the weekend here. Another big thing is Hulu has got the new Predator movie Prey, which came out on Thursday and is getting some of the best reviews of any Predator movie of all time. People who have seen it says it is just as good or even better than the original Predator, and definitely better than any of the other Predator movies that have come out after the initial one. So it is doing gangbusters. It is trending, much as Sandman is as well on social media. And just everybody absolutely just loves it. Everybody who's seen it absolutely loves it. Now, to make it more realistic as well, if you click on it on Hulu, there is an option that you could have it in a Comanche dub because the movie is about Native Americans taking on a predator in the time before the Europeans invaded the United States, or I should say North America. So it's got Indian actors and actresses in it, and so they actually got actors and actresses to write a Comanche dub for the movie and had Comanche actors and actresses dub the characters' voices in Comanche so that you could actually watch it in the native language of the natives who are fighting the predators. So getting really good buzz, really good reviews and stuff like that. The Orioles, the Baltimore Orioles, my baseball team, since I'm set here in Maryland, is where I'm located. They're my baseball team. They've been in a rebuild now for 3 to 4 years, and they're starting to show dividends this season so far. They have won 5 straight games. They are now 55-51, so they're 4 games over 500. They had not won 55 games in almost 3 close to 4 or 5 years, they have not won 55 games, and now they have. So, the Orioles are decided they were going to do some minor stuff during the trade deadline. Now, last week I told you about the magical Trey Mancini final at bat at Camden Yards. He did get traded to the Houston Astros for a couple of, to me, honestly, I think their bust pitching prospects. One is a guy who is undergoing a massive surgery on his arm and will not be ready at the earliest until around this time next year. And even then, Tommy John surgery. Even then, his arm might be completely different than what made him a prospect. He might be just a average sort of guy. And then they got a number 20 prospect in the Tampa Bay Rays' minor league system, who is pitching to a 4+ ERA in single A baseball, which is not great. So to me, it seemed like we moved Trey just to move him. I think these two pitchers are worthless pieces of junk. They're trying to put a flyer on them, but they're not going to be on the Orioles team. I could be wrong, but I really honestly, with prospects, you never know what's going to happen. We have so many busted prospects, plus they're both right-handed pitchers. We have a dearth of right-handed pitchers. We need left-handed pitchers. So I just think these guys was a bad trade for Trey Mancini. It was just a trade to get a trade done and get Trey Mancini out of here and be a rental to the Houston Astros, who are probably going to make it to the playoffs and potentially the World Series. I don't think the Orioles are, even though they're playing good ball. They might get a wild card if they keep playing well, but I don't think they're going to go very far. Anyway, on the plus side, what's cool about Trey Mancini is in his first 3 at-bats with the Houston Astros, he's homered all 3 times, including a 2-run homer and a grand slam. So Houston's loving Trey Mancini. And I'm wishing we still had him, because that's just ridiculous. And we're never going to see these pitchers. And at the earliest, we might see them in 2025, which is still years away. We also traded our all-star closer, Jorge Lopez, to the Minnesota Twins again for more pitching prospects. Again, ones that don't seem too exciting to me. They're not any top prospects for a top bar closer. We did get a left-hand pitcher, but we really, again, didn't get much of return for him. And Bautista, who's been doing a really good job as setup man, has now been thrown into the closer's role, but he's gotten to at least 2 or 3 saves since that point, because the Orioles have won 5 straight at this point. So we'll see what happens, but good on Trey Mancini. He's a good guy, class act, and I just think that the Orioles really screwed the pooch on their trades at the trade deadline. We did also pick up a guy named Brett Phillips for money, and he's a really good defensive outfielder, I believe. His bat's okay. It's not great, but he's been doing good. Had a hit today and a run today. So, you got and I think an RBI today also. So he's doing, pretty good too. So, yeah, good on that as well. The Pokeball, what is that? Something. Oh no, yeah. Pokeball Nintendo Switch can koozie is a new thing now. It looks like a Pokeball that has Switch controllers on the side, and you put your beer in it as the cozy. So it's kind of a cute little sort of thing as well. So it's kind of interesting. Now here on the East Coast, we've had a really rough weather pattern over this past week. The temperature has been skyrocketing. We got to about 97 degrees on Thursday. The temperature starting to go down a little bit, and humidity was skyrocketing over the week. But we also got on Thursday and Friday, we got really bad thunderstorms. Came around the same time, just around 5:30ish. And the thunderstorms that hit on Thursday were worse than the ones that hit on Friday, because Thursday was the day where it was 97 plus degrees and the humidity was so high. It was so bad that a lightning strike happened right outside of the White House, and it killed 2 people. The lightning strike did. We also had a water spout show up on one of the rivers connected to the Chesapeake Bay here in Maryland as well. We here where I was, we just got some heavy wind and a lot of rain. Our power lines are underground, so we were not affected by that, but I do have friends who were affected by power outages and had not gotten their power back. I think they finally got it back, but it'd been like 3 days before they got their power back. So it was a bad storm. And then the one Friday was not as bad, but it was still some rain and a little bit of thunder here, but nothing not as bad as a lightning strike that killed 2 people. So if you're a fan of Ghostbusters, I told you about the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man inflatable. Well, Party City also is getting a whole bunch more of Ghostbusters replica stuff, including backpacks, goggles, and other stuff that you can get if you want to be Ghostbuster for Halloween. And then something that's not really Halloween related, but it is Ghostbuster related. There is someone created a custom made Ghostbusters casket, which the casket looks like the Ecto-1 car, and it's got the lights and the wires, stuff like that. So, and has the Ghostbuster symbol on it. So if you're a Ghostbusters fan, like my friend Corey, you may have just found your casket for when you die. AMC Theaters is going to roll out nationally popcorn delivery by the end of the year. Now, when COVID first hit and movie theaters shut down, they needed to figure out a way to keep the theaters open. And they had some government assistance to try to keep it open, but they did not open for a long time. And a couple of the AMC theaters decided, you know what, people are bored inside their houses because they have to, stay inside their houses. Why don't we deliver popcorn to them? Because people might like our old school movie theater popcorn, where you drench it with liquid butter and salt it to death, as sort of way to kind of remember, your time at the movie theater. Or you can come pick it up if you want, wearing your mask, obviously, so you can order it. So they did that, and it worked out pretty well. So AMC decided, hey, why don't we do this nationally, so that if you don't want to go to the movies, or if you want to watch a movie at home but want to get like realistic movie theater popcorn, go ahead and order it from us, and we'll deliver it to you, or you can pick it up, obviously. And they're making money over it, so they don't care. They'd rather you obviously be at the movie theater. But if they can get some money out of you for not going to the movie theater and staying home and still get money out of you, then they should be pretty happy with that. Ezra Miller continues to be insane. Supposedly now he is a cult leader. And talk now from he was on the remake of The Stand. He played the trash can man. The actors and people on the set of that said he was acting weird like he is now. Or they is, I'm sorry. They are now, sorry. That's his proper pronoun. But this guy is still going crazy and still insane, and the WB is still trying to figure out what they're going to do. But we're going to talk about the WB here in a second. 100-foot wide sinkhole opened up in Chile. People believe it might be due to some sort of mining operation going on there, but it is happening right now. And the Banshees of Inisherin trailer came out. It reunites Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson, who were in Bruges together, in a movie that looks kind of interesting if you like these sort of foreign type films. So I don't think I have it all over the place, but Warner Brothers was just purchased by Discovery Channel. And that, to me, is still kind of crazy, because Warner Brothers was a huge moneymaker, and I never thought like a Discovery would be a huge moneymaker. Yeah, they have their own streaming service, but I never thought it would be a huge moneymaker. So they're able to buy a massive film studio and run it. But that includes HBO Max, which has a partnership with the WB. So that means that they have the rights to the DC stuff as well. Well, this week, the WB canceled the 90% finished Batgirl movie that was going to have Michael Keaton in it as well, and J.K. Simmons in it too. They canceled the film, even though 90% of it is done. The reasoning, they say, is because they showed it at a preview, and the preview people absolutely despised it. And there's a reason why they're doing this type of stuff, but we'll get into that a little bit later. But that has caused a lot of people to get upset because they wanted to see it, and they figured that that was just a test screening. You can fix things in editing and stuff like that. That's the whole reason for a test screening. It's 90% done. You really you just gave a ton of money to that asshole Zack Snyder to finish a movie that he claimed was already finished, but wasn't. So what's to stop you from giving a little extra money to fix what these people found wrong with it? But there is, again, a reason for that, which I'll tell you about once I find that story. It might not be for a little bit, and I'll connect it back to this. But the WB has also canceled the animated sequel, Scoob. That movie came out around the 2020s on streaming only and became a huge hit, so they created a sequel. But again, Warner Brothers canceled it for really no reason that I know of, so that's kind of weird. Because of the whole stuff about the Zack Snyder stuff that came out a couple weeks ago, which I went into detail here on this show because Zack Snyder is a complete and utter waste of space. The WB has decided that they want to try to get back into the superhero business, but not have a Zack Snyder connection. And that could be another reason why Batgirl was canceled, because it has a Zack Snyder connection. They also are canceling the Supergirl movie, which also had a Zack Snyder connection. So that could be it also, that and saving money. And I'll tell you, I keep bringing out the money, but I'll tell you about that in a second too. So the Discovery Plus decided that this is what they should have done originally when they were starting to make DC movies. They saw how Marvel's 10-year plan was successful. So they said they're going to emulate that, and they're going to do their own 10-year plan, which will be focused more on content and not on having a lot of movies out. So you might only get one or two DC movies out in their 10-year plan a year instead of 4 like Marvel does, but you're going to get really, really good ones is what they're saying now. I'll believe it when I see it. They should have been doing this from the beginning, or you don't emulate Marvel. You do your own thing. You don't have to do what Marvel's doing because you just don't have to. You do your own thing. You run your own thing. But they decided that they weren't going to do that. They went with that a-hole Zack Snyder who totally fucked them over. So now they have to restart again because of that asshole Zack Snyder. HBO Max, which is a part of this whole WB stuff, is also having all kinds of issues as well. The 45-day theatrical to streaming window is now no longer WB policy. So it used to be where a Warner Brothers movie would come out in the movie theaters, and then 45 days later it would be on streaming. Matrix 4 did it, stuff like that. That is no longer going to be the case. I don't know why, but they changed it up a little bit, so they're not going to do that. Let's see if I can find some of these other things. HBO Max and Discovery Plus, despite all these issues, have decided that HBO Max is going to no longer exist. They are going to merge it with Discovery Plus, their two streaming platforms, and turn it into one big streaming platform, much how Disney's doing it. Disney Plus has the Marvel stuff, Star Wars, and their own Disney stuff as well. And they also have National Geographic as well. So HBO Max and Discovery are going to do something like that. So that's going to hit the new streaming system. That's going to be a combination of HBO Max and Discovery Plus, will make its premiere next summer, 2023. Let's see if I can also find that. HBO Max has laid off, I think I've seen somewhere between 70% of their staff. So they are losing money hand over fist, and they are really this joining with Discovery Channel. And Discovery Plus is sort of, I think, screwing that up. So they have gotten rid of 70% of their employees there. Here it is, the WB Discovery merger that happened. It's been a quarter since it happened. They have posted a $3.4 billion loss in the first quarter as a combined company. So this WB Discovery Channel thing has not worked out in the best. And I think that's why you're seeing all this stuff happening now, because they got these first quarter numbers and they're like, we can't have this. So we're going to, clear out all this other stuff here. I know there's a couple other of these things. Shazam 2 is now in danger that it might be pushed back to 2023. Remember, it was supposed to be out in 2023, but now it might be pushed back and then moved to 2022, but it might be pushed back to 2023 as well. HBO Max is also removing a lot of their original films, like the Robert Zemeckis remake of The Witches was a direct to HBO Max film. There are other ones that you could only see on HBO Max. They are but they are no longer available to stream, which doesn't make any sense. Netflix has done a ton of these movies, going like from Bird Box, which was like the first one I remember from a long time ago, and all the Adam Sandler ones and stuff like that. And they're still on the Netflix. You might not have watched it in years. But you say, you know what? I will check out Bird Box. I haven't seen it in a while. You'll be able to find it here. You won't be able to find the HBO Max original movies anymore. So that's kind of a continuing how bad things are going for them as well. I'm just going to see if there's anything else I can find. All right, I talked about that already. Just see if there's anything else. I don't see anything else. That might be all she wrote right now. So if I find anything else, I will definitely come back to it. But that's all the stuff that's going on with HBO Max and Discovery. It just seems rather odd that that is what's happening. So now I'm an hour in, and I haven't even talked about the big deaths for this week. The biggest one this week is Nichelle Nichols, who played Lieutenant Uhura on the original Star Trek TV show. And in the movies, the subsequent movies after that, she was the first African-American actress to play a role that was not some sort of subservient maid, slave, whatever type of role she played. She was important member of the crew. She had the first interracial kiss on television with William Shatner. And she almost decided to quit Star Trek because she wasn't getting the storylines that she wanted. And Dr. Martin Luther King told her, no, you are an icon. You are a hero to Black people everywhere. And she stayed on like that. But her biggest claim to fame now, Star Trek is big, but her biggest claim to fame is that she has helped NASA to get more Black American women into the space program. And you'll ask any Black female astronaut what got them into NASA. A lot of them will say Nichelle Nichols, Lieutenant Uhura, did. So that was kind of sad to see her pass away. So she passed away. Another really interesting story about her real quick is our friend Brianna, who comes up from Virginia to do Shore Leave, which was a couple weeks ago out in Hunt Valley. And we go to see her for brunch on Sunday. I remember before COVID hit, it was like 2019, whatever. Nichelle Nichols was one of the guests at Shore Leave. And we were having brunch with Brianna on Sunday when a friend of hers came in and said, hey, Brianna, Nichelle's on her way down or getting ready to leave or whatever. And we figured we want to give her standing ovation or whatever, like she comes down. So Brianne left. We were done anyway. And she was able to get in line with all the other Shore Leave people and gave her a standing ovation and stuff like that. So I just thought that was kind of a nice sort of story as well. Bill Russell, one of the best NBA players of all time, and a Black player who came in and made a lot of noise and got it to become, because back, in the 60s, it was like all white sort of basketball. And he was one of the first ones to not integrate it so much as to get people to come in and play basketball. Won lots of awards and is in the Hall of Fame, won a lot of championships, and was, again, sort of an icon. So he passed away the same day as Nichelle Nichols. So that was kind of a shocker there. Ron Zimmerman, a lesser-known comic book writer, had written Spider-Man and a few other ones as well, but he's most famous for writing the Rawhide Kid limited series that turned Rawhide Kid into a gay superhero. And also he wrote a Kraven the Hunter miniseries turning Kraven into this social media sort of guy. Ron Zimmerman himself was gay. That's why he turned Rawhide Kid into a gay icon as well. So that's kind of interesting. So he passed away this week as well. Pat Carroll, the voice of Ursula in The Little Mermaid, she passed away at the age of 95. Always remember that when I was in college and I was in plays, the woman who ran the Domino Players, was the name of our theater group, was Lynn Morrow. And she sounded exactly like Ursula from The Little Mermaid, and that was her nickname. And she was fine with it, she took it in stride and she laughed it off, and it was funny. And she didn't seem to mind it, so that's kind of interesting as well. Mo Austin, legendary record executive behind Hendrix and the Kinks, he passed away this week as well. Excuse me, I'm going to fart, so excuse me. Who else is here? Burt Metcalf, a MASH writer and director. He passed away this week as well. The other really big one that came out this week as well was Vin Scully, who was a baseball radio announcer for the Los Angeles Dodgers. Did a whole bunch of other things as well, did all kinds of sports. He had a very distinct voice, but Los Angeles was his home and was very well loved. I forget his name right now. The guy who used to do the Orioles broadcasts, who was really, really good. John Miller, I think was his name. He did a killer Vin Scully impersonation. It was really, really funny. And he did it for Vin Scully once at some sort of sports banquet, and Vin Scully absolutely loved it. So it's kind of funny. JoJo, who was a famed Brookfield Zoo gorilla, passed away due to cardiac arrest this week. There's that. And finally, character actor Clu Gulager died at the age of 93. He was mostly a horror icon character actor, was in Return of the Living Dead. And I can't remember what that said over there, and other stuff as well. So he passed away this week as well. Oh, we got a lot of anniversaries this week. First up, from 1998, this week, Halloween H2O came out. One of the actually pretty good sequels to the Halloween movies came out right around the time where Scream had turned horror back into a popular commodity, and actually was a pretty good film, if I do say so myself. I enjoyed it immensely. It came out this week, back in 98. Mystery Men, a great one of the early comic book movies. It stars Ben Stiller, William H. Macy, Janine Garofalo, Pee Wee Herman as Paul Rubens was in it as well. There were a few others as well. Based on a Dark Horse Comics comic book. Came out. Hank Azaria's in that as well. Came out this year in 1999. This week in 1999, 23 years ago. The Fugitive, one of Harrison Ford's, one of his great movies, a career filled with great ones. That is not also Raiders or Han Solo. This is a completely different one with Tommy Lee Jones as well. Came out in 1993, 29 years ago this week. It is an outstanding action film, very well done, and just a great one as well. Also in 1999, the same day that Mystery Men came out, M. Night Shyamalan's The Sixth Sense came out, which was the first movie by M. Night Shyamalan and became the biggest movie of the year. One of the biggest movies of the year, 1999. 1999 was a fantastic year for movies. There's a whole book about how great it was. I read it last year. It is outstanding. So that came out this week, 23 years ago. My Boyfriend's Back came out the same day as The Fugitive. And The Fugitive killed that as well. My Boyfriend's Back was a silly, stupid romantic comedy about a nerdy guy who gets some attention from the most popular girl in school and then ends up dying. But because he had such a strong feeling for this woman, he was able to bring himself back as like sort of a zombie, but he had all of his faculties back. And the popular girl tried to fall in love with him again. It's a weird little film, but it's pretty good. Is that everything on this page? So I can just flip it and just stay on that page. Yep. Other anniversaries this week, we have the something that was not movie related. The Curiosity rover that landed on Mars 10 years ago this week on August 5th, actually 2012. I believe Curiosity is still out there taking pictures and exploring, but it landed on Mars 10 years ago on August 5th. Back to movies. Airheads, a movie from 1994, came out this week in 1994. Stars Brendan Fraser, Adam Sandler, Steve Buscemi, and Michael Richards, who played Kramer on on Seinfeld. It also has what's his name? Joe Mantegna also is in it too. And basically the premise is Brendan Fraser, Adam Sandler, and Steve Buscemi are members of a heavy metal rock band, and they decide to invade a radio station and force them to play their demo album, and they have to they lock down and they hold people hostage inside, and they have to hold it down to until the police get there and stuff like that. So kind of interesting little side movie. Not a great movie, but it's still okay. Babe, one of the best animal movies about a pig. That'll do pig, starring James Cromwell. Came out 27 years ago this week. Guardians of the Galaxy, the first Guardians of the Galaxy, came out 8 years ago this week. Wow, only 8 years ago. Doesn't seem like that's long ago. The Omega Man, Charlton Heston zombie movie. It came out in 1971. So let's see, 51 years ago. They remade it in I Am Legend, which was the Will Smith movie. Fright Night, which is an outstanding horror film, came out in 1985. Starred Williams Ragsdale and Chris Sarandon. So it's a really good and what's his face? Roddy McDowell also. Weird Science, another great movie, came out 37 years ago this week. Anthony Michael Hall, Kelly LeBrock, Bill Paxton is an outstanding film. John Hughes, written, directed. He needed to cleanse his palate after the deeply dramatic and heavy Breakfast Club, so he wanted to do something just fun and stupid. So he created Weird Science, which is one of the weirdest movies you ever seen, but it also has one of the first ever recent, maybe the first ever appearance of Robert Downey Jr. in a movie as well. So that was kind of interesting. 2001 and 2002 had two great movies that came out back to back in this week. In 2001, we had Nicole Kidman in The Others, a great, fantastic ghost story of a film with a great twist, up there with The Sixth Sense twist. This one has a pretty good twist as well. I saw this in the movie theater also. It was really, really cool. 2002 has one of my favorite M. Night Shyamalan movies of all time, in Signs. It is hugely underrated. I think people bounce on it a little too much. It's actually a really good movie, and I appreciate it a lot, and I still love watching it from this day forward, so that's still good. 26 years ago, Matilda, based on the Roald Dahl book, came out with Danny DeVito directing, and he starred with Rhea Perlman, and I forget the young actress who played her. This in turn created a Broadway musical based on this movie. So that's good about that. Rush Hour 2, Chris Tucker and Jackie Chan, came out 21 years ago. Chris Tucker just sort of disappeared off the face of the earth. So that's kind of interesting. But he was hugely popular around this time and made a lot of money on it. Jason Lives, Friday the 13th 6, came out this week in 1986. That's the one where he's buried in a coffin, and these two guys decide just to see that in fact that he is dead. They open up the coffin and they put a metal stake through him in a rainstorm. Lightning hits it and revives Jason. That's how they bring him back. Death Becomes Her, the Robert Zemeckis horror comedy with Meryl Streep, Goldie Hawn, and Bruce Willis, came out 30 years ago. So that's a big kind of a big deal. Spawn, based on the Tom McFarlane comic with John Leguizamo, and I forget the actor who played Spawn, came out 25 years ago in 1997. Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, which I think might have been the last Mission Impossible movie to come out, came out 7 years ago this week. Stardust, speaking of Neil Gaiman, one of his early books was turned into a movie that has Michelle Pfeiffer, Robert De Niro, and a whole bunch of other stuff. It's a great magical movie directed by Matthew Vaughn. Came out 15 years ago. The great parody film Hot Shots, which is underrated, also is one of the funniest movies up there, parody movies as well, which parodies this Hot Shots. This one actually parodies Top Gun more than anything. Stars Charlie Sheen, Carrie Elways, Valerie Galina, John Cryer, stuff like that. And then the sequel is just as good, but that came out at a different time. But the original Hot Shots came out this week. The Flight of the Navigator, a 1980s film, came out 36 years ago this week. And finally, So I Married an Axe Murderer, starring Mike Myers and Nancy Travis, came out in 1993. I think I talked about that one last week, but that's what that is. So those are the anniversaries for this week. I already did that. All right, so next up, I talked about the Pokeball can koozie. Well, now there's a Pokeball Switch cartridge case. It's a Pokeball that when you open it up, you can put your Nintendo Switch cartridges in. It can hold up to about, I think, like 12. So that's kind of cool. I've already talked about that. Scrooge movie has been scrapped. Joker 2, Folie à Deux, has officially cast Lady Gaga as Harley Quinn and has an official release date of October 4th, 2024, which would be my wife and I's 21st anniversary, wedding anniversary. So that comes out then. Janet Yang has been elected as the Academy President for the Academy Awards. She-Hulk has been moved to Thursdays now. For whatever reason, Disney Plus is going to try something else again. So now they're going to release their new stuff on, not all their new stuff, but this one at least is new stuff, is moving She-Hulk to Thursdays. So now, instead of it coming out August 17th, it'll come out August 18th. Andor gets a new trailer, more extended trailer, and gets a moved date. It was supposed to come out on August 31st. It is now due out, it's still Wednesday, September 21st. So it's been moved to September 21st now. Again, it's going to be like an 11 episode thing, so it's going to go through November. Jumpin' Jack Cheese Doritos are back. I hadn't had them in a really long time, but I used to get them. I think I liked them, if I can remember that. Salted Caramel Mocha Starbucks coffee is now available at your grocery store. I think it's available out there somewhere, but I have to see if like my local my local grocery store has this new coffee, because I think I want to try it. Guy turns his toilet into a gaming PC, which, okay, I guess if you're on the toilet and you want to play video games, go ahead. Okay. Some Halloween stuff. The Spirit of Halloween movie gets its first trailer. It looks like a really kind of goofy sort of movie that seemed like that. It looks to me like just a giant commercial for Spirit of Halloween, but it's got Christopher Lloyd and Rachel Lee Cook in it. It does not actually have, I think, a official distributor like a Fox or a Sony or Disney or something like that, but it did get a trailer, and it looks like a kind of a goofy little movie. So, oh well, whatever. Might be good, might not be. Halloween hot chocolate bomb is in the shape of a skull, so the bombs are coming back. This one looks like a hot chocolate. Looks like a skull, and you can turn it into a hot chocolate. So after you go trick-or-treating on Halloween, you can just pop it in there and get yourself something really nice. Something really nice. Lupin's Omar Sy to star in John Woo's reimagined crime drama The Killer, which John Woo directed a long time ago. Cornhole game boards have been built. Cornholio is, of course, Beavis's alter ego, where he brings us, says, I can't do this with this shirt, but I am Cornholio. So this person made a cornhole board, which has Beavis as Cornholio and also Butthead as a Cornholio also. I think it's kind of cool. Valiant International Comics is also laying off staff, much how HBO Max is as well. So that's not a good sign of stuff. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie that Seth Rogen, animated film that Seth Rogen is producing, stuff like that, has a name called Mutant Mayhem. So we'll be seeing a new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie, even though it is animated, coming out soon. Kansas Woman is the third sister to turn 100. She has a 104-year-old older sister and a 102-year-old middle sister. She's the baby at 100. A baby hippo has been born in the Cincinnati Zoo. A baby giraffe has been born at the Milwaukee Zoo. So we've got all kinds of great animals keep getting born. So that's kind of good. The Horror of Dolores Roa cast Cyndi Lauper as a private investigator in the Blumhouse Cannibal TV series. I don't know where it's going to be streaming, but Cyndi Lauper will be acting in the film. So there you go. Keanu Reeves is going to be entering the world of television, streaming television in this case. Hulu, which has been knocking out of the park lately, has bought the rights to Eric Larson's Devil in the White City book, which I read back in 2020, that Leonardo DiCaprio has been trying to make forever. Leonardo DiCaprio is still hooked up as being the producer of this TV series adaptation of the Eric Larson book, Devil in the White City, along with Martin Scorsese, who will also be producing. Keanu Reeves has been cast in the role of the architect who is given the job of creating the Chicago World's Fair at right around the turn of the century, and it has to be the greatest World's Fair because there was a World's Fair overseas that everybody absolutely loves, but America has to beat it. So this guy goes through hell in order to create the greatest World's Fair ever, and if he doesn't, he's going to be blamed for America losing. It's a crazy, and it's all based on a true story. But where the devil part comes in is that while this was going on in Chicago, right outside of Chicago, a serial killer by the name of something H.H. Holmes was working on the outskirts of this. So you see a dichotomy of what's going on with the building of the World's Fair with the serial killer in action as well. It's a really interesting book, and the Keanu playing the role of the architect and not the killer is really good, which means that the focus is going to be more on the architect, which is fine. They still could, it's still that's just my perception right now. DiCaprio is apparently not going to, he's been wanting to play H.H. Holmes, but I don't think he's going to cast himself in that role. I would actually, honestly, I'd love to see him and Keanu together in a film, even though technically the characters don't interact at all in the book. But it'd be neat to see, have a big time actor as well, along with Keanu, to play the role of the serial killer. You still might get someone big, but I guess DiCaprio is looking for it. But he's been wanting to do this, adapt this story forever, and now he's got the chance. He's got the cast. He's got one of the main roles cast with a huge star, and he's got a firm commitment from Hulu. So we'll see how this plays out, which means you're probably not going to see till 2024 probably. Because they just cast Keanu, so they got to maybe write the scripts for the streaming movie. They got to cast H.H. Holmes. They got to create the sets, because you got to do this turn of the century stuff. You got to create the World's Fair sets, stuff like that, and then you got to film it. So I'd say probably 24, maybe as late as 2025, but it will be there eventually. Muppets Mayhem series on Disney Plus gets its first picture. It will be a Muppet show, a streaming show that follows the Electric Mayhem Band on a vacation. So it'll be coming to Disney Plus, so that's kind of cool to see that. A drought in Iraq has revealed a 3,400-year-old palace, which is kind of interesting. Divers found buried treasure in the Bahamas from a ship that sunk 366 years ago. So, it's always cool being someone to find buried treasure. And a 400-year-old underground complex has been found in the Grand Canyon, which again is kind of an interesting little side note as well. Mammoth bones and ghost footprints feed into a new theory found in North America. Feeds into a new theory that there might have been people on the North American continent before the first, much earlier than expected. So that could be an interesting sort of take. So investigators are going to be looking into that really closely. On the Marvel front, some interesting news. The showrunner / director of the Moon Knight TV show has a daughter, and the daughter has TikTok, and she was making a TikTok because her father was hanging out with the star of the Moon Knight, Oscar Isaac, and the daughter, says, I'm going to ask the question, welcome to TikTok, whatever. I want to ask you guys the question that's on everybody's mind. Is there going to be a second season of Moon Knight? And Oscar Isaac looked at the director, and the director looked at Oscar Isaac, and Oscar Isaac responded, why else do you think we're in Cairo? Which apparently where this is being filmed. This TikTok is being filmed. So everybody jumped on that, believing that Oscar Isaac has announced that a Moon Knight season 2 is actually going to be in the works. Now, it very well could. This was from Oscar Isaac's mouth, and it could be one of those things where he's hoping that it is, but it could also be the fact that he accidentally revealed this and that Disney was going to wait till D23 next month to reveal that. So don't be surprised if on D23 next month, you see Moon Knight 2 pop up on that screen behind them, because now we kind of have proof that that's there. And literally the next day, Patton Oswalt, who was the voice of Pip the Troll in Eternals, says, yeah, there's going to be an Eternals 2, and Chloe Zhao is going to come back to direct and write. So again, it seems like they are announcing something before they should have, or maybe Disney wants them to announce it to see how people are going to react to it online. And then they'll announce it at D23 again for certain. So there we go. For some treats, you can get Trix popcorn now, popcorn that's mixed with Trix. You can also get tattoo sleeves for your cat. So if you want your cat to look badass, you can get them fake tattoo sleeves to put on their paws to make it look like they have tattoos on their body. It's kind of funny. Days of Our Lives, the 57-year-old soap opera that has been playing on NBC forever daily for 57 years, is now moving and will air exclusively on Peacock streaming service. So it will no longer be on network TV. And that's kind of odd. Chris Pratt and Samuel L. Jackson's Garfield animated film has a release date now of the winter of 2024. So you got a little bit of a ways to go on that, but it will be coming soon. Tailgate candy corn, which is available at Walgreens now, is following up on the Brock's turkey dinner candy corn that came out last year. Now you can get the Tailgate candy corn that has 5 flavors: hot dog, hamburger, popcorn, vanilla ice cream, and fruit punch. Available at Walgreens. I might actually try those. I don't think I ever tried the turkey dinner ones because I think I was a little bit scared about that. And I'm scared about sort of the hot dog and hamburger ones. But the vanilla ice cream, popcorn, and fruit punch ones might actually not be too bad. So we'll keep up with that. We'll check on that. Neil Patrick Harris, who just recently was spotted filming stuff for the Doctor Who 60th anniversary special, says that the brand new Doctor Who actor, who is gay in real life, will be portraying a gay Doctor Who. So we'll see if that indeed comes to fruition as well. Dark Horse Comics is teaming up with Netflix for an Idris Elba film based on the comic Bong, excuse me. So that's kind of interesting. The new trailer for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, the new video games coming out in November, popped up showing some new Pokemon, including Fido, a bread-looking dog. So showed some neat stuff. So give you a little taste of what's to come in the new Pokemon game. Speaking of video games, Stray continues to break all kinds of records and become hugely popular. So much popular now that Stray cosplay is now a big thing. You can cosplay your cats to look like the cat from Stray. Stray cat, this is a different stray cat, but a stray cat visits his neighbor's house and enters it by entering the alarm code. The cat watched the alarm code and was able to get up there and can press the code and unlocks the door so he can go in and visit his friend. So that's kind of funny. The Curse of Brig Hollow is a new Netflix Halloween family series or movie with Marlon Wayans and Priya Ferguson, who plays Erica from Stranger Things, and Kelly Rowland. So they showed some pictures from that. So we are going to get a Halloween film on Netflix. So it should be kind of neat to see that. Speaking of Halloween, it's a little early because pumpkin stuff usually doesn't pop up till near the end of this month. But Dunkin's Pumpkin Munchkin Coffee Creamer is now available in grocery stores. And Oreo is finally getting into the pumpkin spice cream for their newest fall. Oreo will be the pumpkin spice cream Oreo. So we've got some stuff to look forward to for Halloween. Also, Fruit Brute will be joining Frankenberry, Count Chocula, and Boo Berry as the monster cereal for this Halloween season as well. And also Hocus Pocus 2, which comes out September 30th, is going to be getting their own cereal as well. So Halloween is really starting to really get into action here. Lost Ollie is a new live-action animated film coming to Netflix about a girl who loses her stuffed friend and how the stuffed friend tries to find her way back to her friend. So that's kind of good. Pokemon and Clark's Shoes have joined together to create Pokemon-style shoes. So you can really get into that. Sex Education, which is a hugely popular British show that's on, I believe, Netflix also, is already losing the actor who's going to be playing Doctor Who. So they're losing 3 other actors. So they're losing 4 members of the cast of that show. What the hell? Oh, yeah. Sony says that Bad Bunny is going to be a huge star after starring in that La Muerta movie that's supposed to be based in the Spider-Man universe, where he's be playing a villain who looks like a Mexican luchador character who is only in 2 Spider-Man comics. He believes that it's going to be a huge hit for them, and he's going to be a big star. And honestly, it's like, Sony, you got to stop. It ain't going to happen. Jamestown Historic Site is threatened by rising sea levels. Climate change is real, folks, and this was proof that this historical site could be underwater within the next few years, and we need to stop that. Mexican pizza is back for good on the menu at Taco Bell. So if you like your Mexican pizza, you can now get it anytime you want at Taco Bell. Wolves with 5 pups were caught on a trail camera. So there are wolves, having babies out in the woods and the wild. So they're coming back. Snickers shaking seasoning is out there. It's a way to flavored, tastes like Snickers. You put on your pancakes or French toast or whatever, cookies, and make your stuff like that. KFC has a clothing line now, including a bag that looks like a bucket of chicken. Okay, interesting. Airline passenger is fined $1,800 for undeclared McDonald McMuffins. That doesn't make any sense. I guess he was going to Canada or overseas or whatever and didn't declare them, and so had them on his person when he entered the country and didn't declare them, so he got busted for $1,800 fine. To the NFL, and Deshaun Watson's and the NFL, I'm sorry, and the players, the NFLPA, the players union, didn't know how to suspend, how much to suspend Deshaun Watson due to his sexual assault issues. So they decided to give it to a female judge. The female judge laid down a 6-game suspension for Deshaun Watson, which was a travesty. But before you go off on the judge was female. She called Deshaun Watson absolutely detestable and not a good person and stuff like that. But she could only go with what the NFL had done in previous sort of situations where players were in similar situations, and the the suspensions were not longer than 6 games. Ben Roethlisberger was the first one that comes to mind with that, where he was allegedly charged with raping someone. He originally got a 6-game suspension, which got reduced down to 4. But that was the precedent set, that 6 games for this sort of thing that Deshaun Watson did seems to be the norm. But the judge left it open. It's like, that's the decision that I have, but you both have you can appeal if you like, do what you will. So the NFL has appealed because they want a year-long suspension. They don't want just 6 games. And if they try to push for a 1-year one and he gets a 1-year suspension, then Deshaun Watson and the Players Association will sue the NFL. So this isn't over. We don't know what's going to happen or if he's even going to start a quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. This is just a FUBAR, and Deshaun Watson personally should not be playing in the league anymore because of what he did. He needs to go away, but that ain't going to happen. The Ravens had a player by the name of Hollywood Brown, was our really good wide receiver, but he started getting pissed off with the fact that we were more of a run-first offense, and Lamar rarely threw him the ball. But you also got to remember Hollywood Brown dropped a ton of balls as well. He made some great catches, but he also dropped a lot of stuff as well. So he demanded kind of a trade. So like, okay, fine, we'll send you to Arizona for a draft pick. And they got like a 4th-round draft pick, something like that. I think they got a tight end for that. And so everybody was screaming that was a terrible trade. It was awful. The Ravens are going to be terrible. That comes from Baltimore sports radio, particularly Jason LaCanfora and Ken Wyman, who hate the Ravens because they do not allow them to have their inside access. Besides, Jason LaCanfora is a big liar anyway, making up sources for his role as the NBC or the CBS NFL inside guy. They fired his ass because they discovered that. So, they annoy me to no end, but they were screaming that this is a terrible move. Well, let's see what Hollywood Brown has done since he went to Arizona. He's been injured, which is not really anyone's fault, but he's injured and probably won't be playing for a while. And he just got busted for dangerous speeding in Arizona, which means he was going over 100 miles per hour in an area where he's not supposed to. So he's going to get fined, and at the worst could get some jail time. But they will probably jail him. But then now you got to think, is the NFL going to do something about suspending him because he did break a law and it goes against it? It could be like 2 games, something like that. So we'll see what that happens with that. So it looks like the Ravens, got away with getting rid of someone who might have been a problem in their their clubhouse. So I don't see what's so bad about that. The Earth has set a record for the shortest day on June 29th, 2022. The Earth completed a rotation in under 24 hours, 1.59 milliseconds under 24 seconds, which means the Earth is speeding up a little bit. So that's kind of interesting. So it was a 1.59 milliseconds underneath 24 hours, but it wasn't 24 hours. Some political stuff. I figure it's good now. We're an hour and 40 in, so do some political stuff. The PACT Act, which I think I went off on last week about veterans who were harmed by toxic chemicals, stuff like that. Originally, a bipartisan group passed a bill that would help them, but then the Republicans claimed that the Democrats added something to the bill and then rejected it, and then did fist pumps and were cheering on the fact that they screw the Democrats again, despite the fact that if you looked at the bill, the Democrats did not add anything. And it was a complete and utter lie. And then everyone went absolutely apeshit crazy on social media, demanded a revote, and that got to the Republicans. They felt the pressure on them. They went revoted for it, and they got it to pass. So it is now passed. But still, that's just kind of a shitty thing to do. And another win for America. Kansas had their primary on Tuesday, and on their primary, they had a bill that anti-abortion people, not anti-abortion, that abortion, it is anti-abortion people were trying to pass that some about like making abortion illegal or bad or something like that, whatever. And Kansas is a notorious Republican stronghold. The anti-abortion people did not pass their anti-abortion bill in a state they thought would be in fact, the bill got defeated soundly by at least 30-point difference. So that's a good sign that abortion is not something that should be in political discourse, should not be something like that. And these people are starting to prove that. So good on them for that. Also, on top of that, President Biden has signed an executive order which makes it okay for women to go from an anti-abortion state to a state that allows abortion. There were abortion laws that were going to be placed at the state level that would make that a crime, and that they would have checkpoints set up around the borders so that they would pull over cars to see if they were leaving the state to have abortions. But that has been made null and void due to the executive order that President Biden has put. So I got an hour, I got about 20 minutes before we hit the 2-hour mark, and I got a lot to get through, so let me blow through this real quick. So you need to be 21 plus years old to buy whipped cream in the Hudson Valley up in New York. That is okay. It's whipped cream, unless you're thinking that people were using it for a sexual purpose, which they might. It's very enjoyable, to be honest, but that's besides the point. But to have someone 21 plus only be able to be, have to be 21 years old to buy whipped cream. Are you afraid of the whippets also, of getting that doesn't quite work that way either. So I don't know. Fancy Feast, which has been known to make cat food, has opened a restaurant for humans with cat-inspired dishes. Not made with cat, but inspired by cats. Okay. In Poland, Polish people cosplay as Americans, and it is, as you expected, Southern moronic white Trumper idiots, which is what our country is showing to the world. The long hair, my guns, my the stupidity, stuff like that. And I got to give them credit. They nailed how this shithole country is right now. Ann Dowd joins Ellen Burstyn in the Exorcist remake coming up from Blumhouse. So that one's starting to flesh out a little bit and look good. Glazed Twinkies are going to be a new thing now, and they're going to be called Bouncers. They're going to be coming out now soon from Tasty Cake. Or I don't know if Tasty Cake does, but whoever does them, they're going to be releasing something called Bouncers, which are basically glazed Twinkies. The long-lost Temple of Hercules may have been found in Spain, so that's a big find for them. D&D Spelljammers set, a new game, Spelljammers setting is basically Star Trek in fantasy space. So it's a D&D style campaign, but set in outer space. So that's pretty cool. Some local news, the grocery store Little that's been rumored to hit Reisterstown and has been being built right now in one of our strip malls across from the high school is now set to officially open on August 31st. They will be open from 4 a.m. to 9 p.m. every day. Supposedly they have really good prices, lower than most grocery stores, and everybody in the world is screaming, "Where's Little? There's Little." I really have no way one way or another. I might check it out maybe once or twice, but I'm not going to go crazy over there unless I find something really, really good. Weiss is right up the street from me, and it takes 2 seconds to get there. Laser scans reveal 60,000 hidden Mayan structures in Guatemala. So just laser scan it. So now they just got to dig and uncover these now, but they know they're there. NFL is still busy. They suspended the Dolphins owner and stripped them of multiple draft picks, including next year's first-round draft pick, due to the Tom Brady tampering. Now, I think Tom Brady personally should also get some sort of punishment because I hate Tom Brady, and honestly, he probably shouldn't because he's sort of just behind the scenes, but he still had some sort of influence over it because the reason why they got busted is because the owner of the Miami Dolphins is friends with Tom Brady and also Sean Payton. Sean Payton has very successful coach for the New Orleans Saints, and Brady's Brady. Anyway, this Miami Dolphins guy was telling his coach Brian Flores that he needs to tank the season so that he can get like a lower draft pick and then be able to make a deal to get Tom Brady as their quarterback and Sean Payton as their coach, saying Brian Flores was a horrible coach. And our team is awful, so we need to make some changes. Doesn't look good for Brian Flores. Like, why should I? I think he was going to pay him off a bunch of money, but no, Brian Flores wants to coach. So Brian Flores brought that up, and that's where all this came from. But Tom Brady was okay with wanting to go to Miami, so I think he and Sean Payton need to get Sean Payton's not currently in the NFL because he retired as the coach of the New Orleans Saints when this started coming out, which meant that if he was still coaching and they just determined that this was pretty bad and that they might have something to do with it, he could have been suspended also. So I think we need to suspend Tom Brady for at least 2 games and tell Sean Payton that he can't coach this year, something like that. He's not coaching this year, but anyway, regardless. So we'll see what happens. But that's just me because I don't like Tom Brady. Roundhouse, is that it? Roadhouse. I'm sorry, Roadhouse. The awesome Patrick Swayze movie is now going to be remade with Jake Gyllenhaal and Conor McGregor. Yeah, you don't need to remake every goddamn thing. And to put Jake Gyllenhaal in that role that Patrick Swayze owned, yeah, no, it's like putting Jake Gyllenhaal in Dirty Dancing. Fuck you. I have no idea what that says. Crime-fighting cat named Arnold joins the police force's secret cat division. I forget what police force it is, but you have a dog division, but now you have a cat that also can go in and help you solve crimes as well. Google has fired an employee that has claimed that the AI has become sentient. Okay. Don't know how true that is either. Reese Witherspoon says that the success of Top Gun Maverick has given her hope that she can bring Legally Blonde 3 to movie theaters, which was a movie that hasn't been out for almost 20 plus years. They figure, why not? Let's do another reboot, whatever, another sequel, which seems to be the trend now, which is awful, to be honest. And we shouldn't have to deal with it, but we are. White Raven was born. That's what it was. So another white animal is making its way out into the world, which is kind of interesting. The CW's Flash TV series is going to be ending with season 9. So what you need to do then is you get Grant Gustin in there, and you do sort of you replace Ezra Miller with Grant Gustin, and you release the Flash movie without Ezra Miller but with Grant Gustin. You can do it. Go ahead and do it. Debo Sweeney of the San Francisco 49ers, who is a great wide receiver / running back type, has just signed a 3-year extension with the 49ers. There was talk that he might be trying to get a better deal somewhere else, but nobody else was biting on it, so he signed this 3-year extension with the 49ers. Olivia Colman is rumored to be playing a female version of the Marvel character Union Jack in Secret Invasion. So we'll see if that actually comes true or not. Nick Offerman and Janet McTeer have been cast in Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 2, which is currently filming right now. Part 1 will not be out until next year, I think. I don't think it's 2024. I think it's not until next year. Oreos and Chips Ahoy's vanilla pudding is now also out and about and available in stores right now. I should be able to cover this before 2 hours is up. First Kill is canceled by Netflix, which was a TV show that was sort of kind of a modern update of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but kind of reversed a little bit where the Angel character is female also. So that could have been interesting, but it didn't do very well, and so Netflix canceled it because they're having their own problems as well. Extremely rare penny was found in a boy's lunch money. It is now worth millions. So good on him with that. Elephants all over the place. A herd of 50 elephants have been photographed caught crossing a road, and another elephant has been photographed falling asleep in the middle of the road, blocking traffic. Stray, the video game I talked about earlier, they get a multiplayer mod. So someone modded so you could play multiplayer Stray. Also, Spyro, which is the cute little dragon action video game character that has his own character, has also been modded into Stray as well. So you can play as Spyro on Stray, which doesn't make any sense, but okay. Halloween Town stars are engaged. I think I talked about that last week as well. They played rivals, and now they are lovers and married. So good on that. Some local news. Multiple military munitions from the 1940s washed up onto Assateague Island. It happened the same weekend that my family was down there camping, though it happened a little bit further down the island. And so to make sure that no one got blowed up, professionals went and exploded the unexploded munitions, and my son's troops said they heard some of that in the distance. Sounded like thunder, so they didn't really think much about it till this story came out. Filming on the TV version of Snowpiercer, which takes place in a world, another second ice age where civilization is on a massive train that just keeps going around the world. It's a class. It was based on a Korean film. Starred Chris Evans, and it was a popular film. So it became a TV show. It's been a pretty popular TV show, but the final season is being filmed right now, so they need lots of cold and snow and stuff like that. But due to extreme heat, they have to stop the filming of it because a show that takes place in extreme cold cannot film in extreme heat. It's just not good. A new Disney Plus Cars TV show called Cars on the Road will be coming to Disney Plus soon, using the same voices. Owen Wilson and everybody like that will come back, so you get to see your favorite cars in their own TV show. The James Webb Telescope's first ever picture is now a dress with pockets. So if you want to do that, you can get the dress with pockets in it. Everything, Everywhere at Once, the Michelle Yeoh movie with Jamie Lee Curtis, has crossed the $100 million threshold. The first ever A24 production film to cost that $100 million. So good on that one, your first $100 million film. And finally, we're going to end the show with some NASA news. NASA's sent a message to Voyager 1, which is 13 billion miles away, and Voyager 1 responded. So Voyager 1 is still humming along, even though he's due to disappear really soon. He's still out in interstellar space and still helping make some discoveries for them. And finally, the next phase in the NASA's moon phase is rolling out onto the tarmac, or not the tarmac, but rolling out. The NASA Artemis 1 rocket is going to roll out on August 18th for a launch on 8/29. It will be the first NASA exploration of the moon in a very long time. So good on that. So that is this week, Midsummer's Night. Dylan knows. My friend from high school, who goes under the name of Shockdoor, usually doesn't stream on Saturday, but he's been off all week, but he's streaming now. So I'm going to go hop over to his stream for a little bit. But thank you guys all for watching. Next week, as I said, I'm by myself Monday through Thursday. Nothing as of now, much like last week. I don't know of anything critical or amazing coming up. We'll probably have more Sandman reviews coming up. And maybe while they're away, I might eventually decide to watch the movies. Maybe I'll have some reviews for that as well. But we're entering the dog days of summer. We're in midsummer. Temperature's supposed to drop on Thursday, but it's still going to be kind of 90-ish. And then I'll be, as I said, managing my job here. So I'm done. I need to go upstairs and hang out and watch some Shockdoor and then go to bed soon. Plus, I'll go to the bathroom. So thanks for watching, and hang loose, and see you guys later. Catch up on Stranger Things if you haven't watched it. Go ahead. You'll love it. And watch Sandman. You'll love it too.